Listen carefully to the following. Hear anything? What about with this one? Just a bunch of silly whistles, right? Let's try playing something that I know you can understand.
She cut with her knife.
What if I told you these were the same sentence? To prove it, I'll play the original sentence, the piano version, the original sentence again, and then the whistle version. Just listen.
She cut with her knife. She cut with her knife.
Pretty neat, right? I'm Andreas in Dr. Kolan's Physics 374 class at St. Olaf College, and I'm going to talk about computer-generated speech. We all know from Fourier analysis that all functions, and therefore sound, can be represented as a combination of sines and cosines, each with its own frequency. To examine the frequencies present in a signal, we take the power spectrum, which produces a nice plot of power in decibels versus frequencies. The taller the peak, the larger the role that frequency plays in the whole. For example, if I put in a linear combination of sines, I might get something that looks like this. And that's all fine and dandy, but real life isn't so clean. Pure white noise, which sounds a little bit like this, theoretically produces a perfectly linear power spectrum, although in reality they looked more like a deformed curve since microphones and recording software aren't perfect. Human speech is particularly difficult to analyze because it's composed of so many frequencies. Just look at what the power spectrum of an example sentence looks like.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left! Yes, I have. Look! Just a flesh wound.
The question then becomes, how can we produce speech on a computer? Or even better, how can we produce speech on a piano? Let's look at a new audio sample that sounds like this.
The kettle boiled quickly.
When we zoom in on the file, we see the general sort of wave shape that we expect. We need the frequencies present, so all we have to do is take the Fourier transform, right? Well, sort of. We're on the right track, but when we play the frequencies back on a piano, it doesn't sound too nice. Speech by nature is time-dependent, so we perform what's called a short-time fast Fourier transform, or just STFFT. We look at a very short portion of the signal, say 10 milliseconds, and take the power spectrum of just that increment. It's helpful to imagine passing a window over our sound wave, only looking at the bit we can see, taking the Fourier transform of each picture. We can improve the accuracy of our results by smoothing the edges of our window down by multiplying our sound wave by a windowing function. This forces our endpoints to be zero, and then minimizes the amount of noise that comes in from the boundaries. For the piano, I've found that a Blackman window works particularly well. Now we just have to make some noise. For each power spectrum, we select the top handful of frequencies. In the 1970s, researchers at Yale demonstrated that humans can recognize speech purely from the top 4 or 5 frequencies played back as sine waves. These whistle-like noises are called sine wave speech, and they sound like this. Can you guess what it's saying? A large part of our comprehension comes from hearing the original audio and letting your brain correlate the sine waves and the actual audio. Try it again after hearing the original sentence.
The kettle boiled quickly.
Pretty cool. Now we turn to the more difficult challenge, speech on a piano. Pianos have 88 black and white keys that go from around 27 Hz on the low end to about 4200 Hz at the top. Most human male speech has an average fundamental frequency between 85 and 180 Hz, and most females have about an octave higher fundamental frequency, circa 165-255 Hz, both of which conveniently lie on the range of a piano. But there's a catch. Humans unfortunately also have a strong frequency, upwards of 4500 Hz. And vocals have a lot of frequencies present, and there are only 88 keys on the piano, so that limits our resolution that we can achieve. But that doesn't stop us. For each set of frequencies that we have, I've taken the top 20 or so that lie within the bounds of the keyboard. I'm then using the Python library Mingus to generate a chord based on the frequencies present at a specific time. You definitely wouldn't want to try playing this by hand, because some of the chords can get pretty nasty. All that comes next is loading a piano sound font and playing the chords that are produced. Here's our example sentence again, followed by the piano rendition.
The kettle boiled quickly.
I think most people can probably hear the intonations of the words, but the piano doesn't enunciate very well, which makes it hard to distinguish specific words. I think this is probably due to a low-resolution input audio and the imperfectness of a sound font, but it does communicate the general intonation of speech pretty well. It also seems to have an easier time with hard consonant sounds instead of the softer vowels. Just to demonstrate, here are a couple more examples, each with their sine wave and piano versions.
The floor was quite slippery. The floor was quite slippery. She ironed her skirt. She ironed her skirt.
If you have ideas about how to improve the output, the source code is available on GitHub, and I'd love to see what you think. Thanks for listening.